Hi, Titani nerds. Welcome back to the next episode of the Dental Implant Podcast. You know what? When I first started placing implants, it was generally accepted that, you know what, is try to reuse components where you can, because that way you can keep your costs down and, you know, you can pass on that saving to patients and keep your costs reasonable. And I mean, this is great, you know, because you've got your, you know, when you first start placing implants, it's expensive, right? You need to buy the kit, and quite often, you know, the implant companies will do you an inverted commas deal where if you buy 20 implants, they'll give you a kit free of charge and things like that. You've got to buy your motor. There's all sorts of things that you have to take into consideration. And additionally, early in your implant career as well, you may not have a massive number of patients who are ready to have implants done because your patient base don't know that you place implants. So this is all things that accrue over time. You know, as you start to do more and more implants, your patients know that you place implants, and they'll come to you from word of mouth referrals and your marketing, etc. And everybody was doing it. And you know, you'd look out at these people and you go to see colleagues in practice and they've got drawers of autoclaved and cleaned healing abutments. And it becomes the norm, right? Everybody's doing it, you do it. And one thing confused me. And what confused me is sometimes after healing is I would take the healing abutment off and I'd see a really nice pink collar around there. And I was like, that's fantastic. You know, this looks great. And then sometimes when I take that healing collar off, I'd get this anxiety build up in me. I'd get a little bit nervous because when I took it off, I'd see like a little rim of bleeding. And I was like, what on earth is going on here? Is the implant failing? Is there some sort of infection that I don't know about? Everything looks fine on the x-ray. Everything looks fine clinically. Why is it exactly bleeding? Is it peri-implantitis? I haven't even restored it and I'm questioning whether it's peri-implantitis. Let me explain to you what's going on. When you reuse healing abutments, and there's some good data by Wadwani et al., that it doesn't matter what you do, you cannot remove all protein from the healing abutment surfaces, okay? You can steam clean it, you can put it in chemicals, you can put it in an ultrasonic bath with hot water. Even if you autoclave it, whilst it's technically sterile, you still have proteins stuck to the surface. And in this study, he took healing abutments, not just his own, but from other colleagues as well, ones that had been reused, ones that had been already used, had been cleaned and autoclaved, and he ran some tests on them. And what he did is he put certain dyes onto them to show protein on the surface. And he also did this with brand new healing abutments. What he found was it doesn't matter which implant brand you use. It doesn't matter what your cleaning protocols are, what your sterilization protocols are. You will always end up with remnants of protein on the healing abutments if you go to reuse them. Okay? So what was it that I was seeing when I saw that little rim of bleeding when I removed the healing abutments? You will see that when you use a brand new healing abutment. What is that little bit of bleeding? Quite simply, that is breaking of the seal of hemidesmosomal attachment to the actual healing abutment. Now, when you've got protein on the surface of the healing abutments, you will not get that. You will not get that hemidesmosomal attachment. There's more to it than this, but I just wanted to make you guys aware of that, basically. So my recommendation would be that you do not reuse healing abutments, that you use fresh healing abutments every single time. If you look at some of the packets that your implants come in with, they actually say single use only. So you have to be very, very aware of that. Is this clinically significant? Yes, I do believe it to be clinically significant because when you put a healing abutment in place, you want to get that hemidesmosomal attachment to try to get soft tissue stability. And you want to leave it for 4 months in order to gain that. Again, that's more data by Tarnow and his group, that ideally you want clean healing abutments that you leave for 4 months. So my recommendation is that you use brand new healing abutments. But let's take this a step further as well. is I know a lot of colleagues out there where they will reuse impression pins, they will reuse lab analogs, and they will take the screws that the lab uses, and they'll use that as the prosthetic screw as well. So the issue that I have with this is every single time that you reuse not a healing abutment, an impression pickup, a impression coping, whatever you want to call it, and you're reusing a lab analog, is you'll start to develop wear on that interface. Now, it may not be significant to start with, but over a period of time, that wear is going to start to become significant, but only to the point where you may not even be able to feel the difference. But on a level of precision of engineering, is you may find that, that could be the difference between something lasting 5-10 years and something lasting 15-20 years. So for the sake of spending just a little bit more, my recommendation would be to use new components every single time. So one thing I would like to do at this stage is I would like to invite anybody who's listening. You can find me on my social media channels. You can, if you go on Instagram and look for the Dental Implant Podcast, is I want for you to start to tell me, what other topics would you like me to cover? Do you agree with reusing healing abutments? Have you never given it another thought and you just do it because everybody else does it? Now that you know, are you still going to continue to use them? What's your rationale from it? I'm just curious as to what other people are doing. I never pass judgment because each to their own. I'm just letting you guys know what I do effectively. So I'm just really curious as to what everybody else is doing and to what degree. And so, please reach out to me and let me know. And as I said, I've got so many topics that I can discuss and that I can talk about, and I need a little bit of guidance from you guys. What you want for me to talk about, and obviously I will go accordingly. I've had a few people who I've been trying to line up as guests on the podcast, but trying to align diaries has been absolutely manic at the moment. So that's the reason it's been a little bit quiet recently. Titanium Nerds, I also wanted to mention to you that I am launching a online training platform, the Academy of Implant Excellence. I have a launch offer at the moment. The spots are half gone. Once they're gone, it's never going to be offered at this rate again. If you'd like to know more, send me a message on Instagram, and I will reach out to you, let you know what the offer entails, and it'll be on a first come first serve basis. So going back to what we were discussing a few minutes ago, as time has progressed, I have started to not reuse components. If I'm doing single or sectional work, I'll use brand new components each time. I will make sure that my lab uses brand new components each time. And then this leads us on to something else as well. What about third-party components? Here's my thoughts on that. I don't know whether it's clinically significant. And I know a lot of people, and I have done this before in the past as well, where you're using a certain implant system brand, but you can get cheaper components elsewhere. And it's just like, well, if it's compatible and it fits, why not? And I've done hundreds, if not 1,000 cases like that. And I wouldn't say that my complication rate has gone up. The issue becomes is how good is the engineering and how precise is that cross compatibility? That's the question that I have. Because if the accuracy drops, you're immediately starting to introduce inaccuracies at a very early stage of the restoration. And I've not seen any data on this as to whether it plays any impact long term. I think this is a clinical decision that you guys need to make on yourself. Me personally, I will just use original components wherever possible, because I pass that cost on to the patient. I use brand new components every single time, and I will flat out turn around and say to patients, "If you want me to do your work, I'm charging higher than average, but there's reasons I charge higher than average. And if you're looking for a cheaper implant, go elsewhere, because to be honest, I'm only going to upset you by charging you higher than average. And, if you're looking for cheap, you're not really the type of client that I'm looking for. We need to be aligned, my patients and myself, in relation to that. So I don't really have an answer with regards to whether third-party components are okay or not. Is from what I've seen and from the colleagues that I know that do that, and from my own experiences as well, I've not really seen any negative side effects. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'll see if I can find any more data on that between now and the next time that I record a podcast. If any of you guys out there have any data on this, please let me know, because I would like to critically appraise that paper and kind of like see what's going on there. So, just to summarize for everybody here, it's my personal philosophy that we should not be reusing components, that we should use new components every single time. Why? To keep that accuracy as high as what we possibly can. And the reason why that's important to me is any inaccuracies that you introduce at an early stage is you're just more likely to have problems in the medium to long term. And even if you're reusing original components, the wear that occurs, the fact that you can't fully sterilize them, that all starts to, we're only talking very small errors, very small inaccuracies. But what happens if you've got a 0.5% accuracy and you magnify that by a factor of 100? All of a sudden that small inaccuracy starts to become more and more significant over time. And should we be doing that to our patients? Let me ask you this. Would you do it to you if it was you? I wouldn't. That's why I don't. And again, a really simple tip for today is if nothing else, brand new healing abutments every single time. And if you're doing it, if you're doing work in the anterior region, just put it in and just leave it for 4 months. I will come up onto aesthetic contouring of the soft tissue at some point in the very near future. That's actually hard to do via podcast because most people are listening to this and not watching this. So I need to figure out a way to actually get that across. But again, this was something that's going to be covered in the Academy of Implant Excellence course. So yeah, definitely I nearly said reuse your healing abutments, and that's completely wrong. Definitely do not reuse your healing abutments. If you're in a position to order brand new pickup copings and brand new lab analogs for every case, I think that's a fantastic thing to do. Using third-party abutments, components, whatever, whatnot, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I've not seen the data on it. I just personally use original components as far as I can, just because for me, I like that level of precision, because that's the level of precision that I'm working to. So that's it for today, folks. I deliberately kept it a little bit on the short side because I'm aware most people just listen to this on the way to work. And what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to drop little golden clinical nuggets for you without taking up too much of your time, because I know that you've got better things to do than listen to the sound of my voice. So thank you very much, folks. If you know of anybody who may be interested in the Academy of Implant Excellence course, please ask them to reach out to me. It's going to be fantastic. I am going to give all of my knowledge to this course. I'm going to give absolutely everything, no holding back. It's going to be modular. There is going to be a basic, advanced, and mastery modules, and it's going to be phenomenal. I've got some guests coming on there as well to talk about their particular niches. And I'm so excited for it. I am so excited for it. Until next time, folks, I will aim to record another podcast as soon as what I possibly can. Shoot me over some ideas, what you guys want to know about. And I will, if I don't know the information, I will dig out the information. And I'll speak to you titanium nerds soon. Take care. Bye.